So, it's been a while. Yes, I know it's been over 3 weeks since I put up part 1, but the second half of this game showed me that leveling up is very effective, unlike the first half, which was way easier than I gave it credit for in the first video. If questioning the outfit, don't. You'll understand later. And with all that being said, let's get back to the game and ask the question. Can a challenger noob beat Dark Souls at level 1? Personally, I'm unsure. Now that we are in Anor Londo, let's turn right back around and head to Firelink Shrine, since I need to go grab a doll, just so that I don't forget later on. Whilst we're dropping by, we may as well drop in and say hello to the Stray Demon, cousin of the Asylum Demon. Here's hoping that this one goes a bit better than the first one. Oh, and it's already dead. Well, that went by fast. Moving on, let's grab the doll and head back to Anor Londo real quick. Knowing how terrifying the rafters are going to be, I decide to grab this bonfire. And once I've done so, I run over to the building, jump on over and trespass. Which I don't think the guards liked very much, considering they started throwing knives at me. Something I could deal with pretty easily, but it was still rather annoying considering they're also up in the rafters for some reason. They take breaking in very seriously, apparently. Turns out you get a knife if you try to do so. Getting away from the guards, I go and say hello to the imps. I feel like, just with the knights, I somehow am either offending them or flirting, because they keep trying to stab me with their rods and it's giving very mixed signals. Thankfully for me though, them stabbing me and killing me definitely helped to clear up the situation about what they wanted. Looking behind me to check see if the imps want to paralyze me with a lightning bolt, trust me, it's happened. I run up the support, definitely for the first time. No, I don't know how that blood pool got there, probably just the knights. As you can tell, he's very silly and prone to falling off or being stabbed by invaders. Not sure who the other invader was, definitely wasn't me. Dropping down onto the balcony, I finally get to enter the castle proper. And I must say, the game definitely gets points for getting a castle rather than just a city. I talk to Best Man, Big Sun Man, and then after that I have another big man to go see. So let's pop over, say hello to him real quick, and also help him with a problem he has, because for some reason he can't take care of his own problems. After doing that, we visit the blacksmith. Once we've said hello to the blacksmith, we get to meet the cannibal and his friend upstairs, who is not allowed to eat apparently, because look at the size difference between the two. Also, what has Smo been eating? Because I feel like it's probably the guards outside and I feel bad for them, even though they keep trying to kill me whenever I come to in say hello. The fight starts out with Ornstein using his screw you thrust right away, and his boyfriend trying to help by flattening me. Safe to say, I'm not very happy about any of this. Considering it's my first fight with them in a long time, I'm very cautious and try playing chicken with the duo to find times to strike. Skinny doesn't have my patience and hits me with the pointy end. The big guy then follows it up by hitting me with his pancake maker. I don't want to be a pancake, so I'm not very happy about it. But knowing that I'm not going to do very well against them, I decide to go take care of the painted guardians and also go meet Priscilla, because she's adorable. Unfortunately, this is an all bosses run, so sorry Priscilla, but easy first shot. Definitely going to try to take as much health from you as I can. And luckily I get her dagger. Kind of awful because I'm not using daggers this run, and I hate when I get something I don't want to use. Well, something I want to use but never get. One would think that with her being surrounded by snow, she'd like some heat in her arena. But I think she may also be made out of snow, considering when she was hit with some heat, she evaporated into thin air. Now that we've robbed the clearly abused lady of her souls, let's take them to go put them to some use. And the reason I needed them in the first place was because I know I'm not doing good against ONS, so I decided to go get an upgrade. Since I can't upgrade my person, that leaves very few things I can improve. One of them is armor, which is kind of useless. One of them is the weapon, which I don't have the right furnace for. So the next best thing is to upgrade my pyromancy flame. I'd show you footage, but you do not want to watch me running back to Blighttown just to run back here. So getting back to the fight with ONS, this is probably my best run against them. At least the one that doesn't win anyway. As you can see, I'm doing very well. and it is in fact the first time I've gone so long without actually ever being hit in this fight. Hence its inclusion in the video. It's one of my proudest moments in a game, even if it isn't the one that succeeded. And that's kind of one of the reasons I did this. I wanted to improve, well, just improve in general, improve at the game, improve myself, and improve my skills. And I feel like this helps represent that. Granted, it's a lot of running away and running back, but it's still one of my favourite showings against the pair, even if it isn't one that works out too well in the end. Getting into the fight, I see do win against the two of them. You can see my strategy right off the bat paying off, as I hit the Lion Man with two heavy pillars of fire that tanks his health quite a bit. I'm not too worried about hitting Smo with it, considering he'll get a full health recharge, but getting Ornstein down very fast was my priority. As you can see, it works out very well and he goes down very early. Getting into the second phase, Smo is a bit more trouble than I originally thought he would be going into this run. I typically fight maxed out Ornstein, because I like getting all the things you can get from the game, and if you don't fight Max Ornstein, you don't get the ring he drops. So I typically never fight Big Smo, but this route, I kinda had to, considering I didn't have the health or stamina to allow me to stay in the fight longer than I wanted. Or rather, I couldn't stay in the fight longer than they wanted, because they would just nuke my health. So I had to fight maxed out Ornstein, which was a new experience. It's not one I have really fought before. Like I said, typically fight Big Ornstein. That said, it was a very fun fight. It was easier than Big Ornstein, of course. That's why I had to go for him in the end, because I needed to do something, because I was stuck on this fight for about a week by itself. This fight took a week by itself. That's one of 4 weeks. And these guys took all of it. Once they're finally dead, I can head up this strange and very unnecessary elevator in order to go and find my prize. And trust me, it's going to be a good prize after I've been waiting a whole goddamn week for it. And for those curious about what my prize is, no, it is not the fake temptress laying on the bed. It's instead the big bowl she gives me so I can fill it up with Sunny D and the flames of my enemies, so that I can sacrifice them to go find another dude who's also enveloped in flame. She asked me to join her covenant, and because I'm a nice guy I accept, I then turn around and go talk to the shy spider lady and join her covenant instead, because she's adorable, and my god is her story tragic, and she needs all the help she can get. Plus she gives me things. I want to be able to access the goddamn pathway she gives, as I always do. Plus, it is the only way to save Soul Lvl, and whilst it isn't always necessary, yes it is, you have to save Soul Lvl, there's no questioning it. Once that's done, go defeat one of her siblings. Yes, they are siblings, and god, his story may be even worse than hers. I am so sorry. With discharge taken care of, I think it's time to go and put this bowl back on its pedestal, like I should have done the moment I got it. But thankfully I remembered to do so before going to take on the Demon Runes, because that would have been very concerning if I forgot to do it then. It's always, I don't know, it's confusing. How did Gwendolyn, the femboy's name, get his hands on this? Because it would have need to have been opened by Gwyn at the time in order for him to get to the filing, well, the kiln. But I guess the son just came and grabbed it after his father never came back. Well, he probably knew what happened to his father but came to get it anyway. With that done though, I head over to open this, because I always do it, even if I'm not going to take the route, even if I kill both of the demons, I always open this just because it's a faster run back to the lady. And plus, I always want to save Soul Lvl. So if you want to save Soul Lvl, you have to open this door, which is why you need to join the Spider Lady Coven and give her 30 humanity. But with all of the bugs taken care of, since you need to kill all of them, I had to take on an actual demon. And by God, was he awful. Oh my God. This is one of the biggest problems I faced in the run. I didn't know how to get around it, because of the goddamn lava. That aside, after I defeat him, I go check, make sure Soul Lvl is alive, he's here and not got a bug on his head, so he's good. And after that, it's time to take on the mama herself. She was boring, so I skipped most of the fight honestly, it's a platformer. I don't really care about platformers. It took maybe an hour. If not, it may even taken half an hour, who knows. But time to take on a more challenging foe, which would be Nito. Running down here was surprisingly awful. I've been having this problem a lot lately whenever I play it. I find the catacombs harder than usual. But on the way down, I decide to go grab one of the best weapons in the game. It's something I really should do a run with just solely. I have used it before, but you can get it really early. Like, you just need to run down here, like at the very start of the game, the moment you get out of the asylum. You can run down here, grab the eyes, get into the coffin, and go grab the Gravedull Nito Blade. And I need to do an entire run with it, after the asylum, of course. Granted, it does take quite a while to sit there and wait for the goddamn thing to be shoved in. But once it is, you get the blade, you get to see Nito's not dead body, but also technically dead body, resting in a coffin. And then you just get to go back with a cool blade. You don't even have to make any commitments to the dude. Granted, you have to join his coven, but you can leave that without any consequences, which is strange. One would think you'd get a knife in the back for trying to leave his coven after joining it. But I guess he isn't too concerned, considering he just let Big Face run around, doing whatever he wants for a while. Steal his masks and know his necromancies. Speaking of Pinwheel, he is next on the chopping block. And my god, if he wasn't pathetic already, he can be absolutely incinerated by the soul element he uses. He doesn't even use necromancy much, he only summons parts of himself. But he uses Fireball a lot, and he can be decimated by one. I pick up the best mask and then go off to show Patches. He has something else to show me, however, and I don't think I like it very much. He seems to love it because he wants to show me real up close what they are. Then seems to brag about being higher up than I am, even though he's the one that kicked me down. Dropping down into the pit of rot, I get assaulted with screams, and then by a sword. The skeletal minions that are running at me remind me that more games need necromancy classes, because god are they so cool, but are so misused and underutilized. But I try to avoid the big guys because I really should not have gone this far back to deal with him, and they make sure to hit me for my transgressions. I apologise and decide to try again later. Of course, without going too far back, because I do not want to deal with them again. It's better to stay closer to the foreground. Not foreground, but you know what I mean, closer to the entrance. That way the only ones you have to deal with are these small skeletons. But with my swing speed, they are still somewhat of a problem. Thankfully, there is the reprieve that Nito can in fact damage them himself. It's a bonus which basically no one else has, because there's not really any other minions inside boss fights. He then gets into a habit of doing his scream, and trust me when I say I had to back away from that as much as I can, because that scream is trouble. It reaches far, like I said, far further than you think it would. And with the fact I am wearing decently heavy armor and mid-rolling, it's somewhat hard to get away. Plus my penalty is that I can't have that much stamina increase, because I'm not using my goddamn shield. And at this point I haven't switched over to the mask yet, because I still need to light things up to make it a bit easier to see Nito when I'm throwing fireballs at him. But the fight doesn't take too long, and Nito goes down to a bit of flame, bit of charred boiled bones if you will. Now that Nito has been finished off, I head to face what I believe to be the most boring area of the game. Everything involving Seath, because I hate this goddamn place so much. The archives is so boring and the enemies are so tough for no reason, even just the basic hollows. I do realise something when I get here though. I haven't got the silver pendant because I haven't killed the golem. So before I decide to truly tackle this place, I head off to kill the golem. And my controller reminds me I am still broken and you will still turn, because my god does it want me to die. Since I'm already down here among the greenery, I decided it's best to go take care of Sif now whilst I'm here. It will be heartbreaking, of course, as it always is. But such things are necessary in order to progress the game, which is awful. And I think it's awful. And I think the game developers know it's awful, because they provide an extra cutscene, which I did not show here, because I ain't got to the DLC quite yet. But if you do the extra cutscene, you know it's even worse, because Sif recognises you. And then recognises he's going to have to kill you to stop you from going near the abyss, because that's what killed his previous master, and he doesn't want you facing that. Anyway, I whiff my first goddamn Inferno, which is awful because it's so goddamn powerful when it hits. I then get resorted to using fireballs, and after that it's a battle of slowly whittling down the pup, which is just tragic. I wish I had more damage now more than any other point in the run, because it's horrible having to slowly beat the big grey wolf to death. I'm so sorry you had to go through this, Sif. It wasn't my fault. Well, it was kind of my fault, I'm the one who did it, but I apologise for it. After dealing with an adorable animal, we deal with a horrible one who potentially forced his way onto a princess, and that's how Priscilla was made. I don't like that I know that fact, I just do. I apologise if you now know it as well. Since he threw me in jail though, I go with the best option to break out, and that is to kill the warden. Granted, I skipped a lot of this fight because when I tell you it was a long fight, I was fighting him for so long. This took me longer than the 4 kings, and there's like 5 of those idiots that can turn up. It's awful in that boss fight, but this one, even worse, because he has so much health. Speaking of 4 kings, it's time we make our way towards them. And despite him being, this dude, I forget his name, but despite him being fine, pretty much most of the run, he was fine, even as I went into Sense Fortress. He was still sitting on his little rock, not doing nothing. The moment I came out, he disappeared and he was down here already. I thought he went down here far sooner than he actually did. Yeah, but no, he turned up here very, very late into my game, which is new for me. He doesn't really go down here this late, he usually goes in pretty early. Heading into the Ghost Town, which is what it is, which is awful, because my god are these things terrible to deal with. Certainly they're easy to kill. There's no doubt in that. I'm still level 1 and beating them up with basically no problems. This doesn't count, I was being stupid. I got blocked by the goddamn wall. But jumping through all of them, it's goddamn awful. Getting to this place specifically, having to deal with that tower of them, get the key for the seal. Oh my god, trying to climb that ladder was hell. I had to lure them all out, go down the stairs, go back up the stairs, jump onto the roof, go in through the window, climb up and get the key. And then I could finally lower the water level. But heading over to Andre because I want to get a few more upgrades to my weapon because I know how terrible they're going to be. Because the 4 kings are terrible, they were horrible. In fact, I had to use a whole new system to beat them. Well, I say system, a whole new strategy, which is this. I tanked, and I tanked hard. Let me tell you, I could not beat them the way I was fighting before, the whole pyromancy thing. That lasted me through Seath, Sif, the ONS, big and small. My god, these dudes were not having it. They required an entirely new build just to beat them up, and that was basically powering my way through. Granted, it worked very well to a degree because I think the damage was being nerfed for some reason. Like, those swings were big swings and they barely did any damage. But powering my way through them, I did try to save a few of my fireballs for when I faced a new one just to help get through them fast enough. Because sure, fighting 1 or 2 while tanking is fine. Fighting 3 to 4 of them at the same time, however, gets very, very concerning. I also was somewhat apprehensive about this run because I did have a good one where I was doing really good with my first build, the Pyromancy Silver Armor. However, I was also being helped there, I think, because I faced down one, that was fine. Second one turned up, didn't really do anything. I fought the second one like fully, depleted all of its health, whilst a third one just sat there and watched. When I started fighting the third one, however, a fourth got interested and they started to double team me. However, once they're all dead, I sigh a sigh of relief, because god, I was stuck on them for so long. So long. Not as long as ONS, thankfully. Not as long as I thought I would be. But I decided to go take a vacation. That vacation, you may ask? In a dark vortex where a dark hand pulls me in. I thought, let's go see the past, see where things are. But no. They decided to screw me over and give me Sanctuary Guardian. My god, do I hate Sanctuary Guardian. Because he always seems weaker than he is. For some reason, I always think of him as weaker than he actually is. But he's actually really strong. And it really throws me off every time. But yes, I face him. It does take quite a few tries. Not as long as some of the other bosses. Not as long as ONS. I think he did take a few more tries than Four Kings, however. Because I had to change strategy for them. But once I did that, it was fine. But I couldn't really tank my way through Sanctuary Guardian. He does a lot of damage. But getting into the actual garden of the Sanctuary Garden, I go speak to a giant mushroom because I'm not insane enough. And get some advice for her about saving a princess or something. I don't know what kingdom said princess is going to rule over. The only denizen she has is a giant talking mushroom. So good luck ruling over her. Whilst we take our time and get a feel for the royal woods, at least for a little bit, I want to say I've really enjoyed this experience. Granted, it took me ages. You can tell by the three-week gap. It took me so long to do this. But it was kind of wonderful. Granted, dying so much was not wonderful. However, I've learned a lot about editing and how to edit something like this whilst doing this project. And I must say, I very much need to get better at it. But it's been very fun learning something new. And I will be doing more challenge runs in the future. I'll probably switch over to Dark Souls 2, but that is terrifying because of the amount of bosses in that game. Oh dear lord, it's going to take ages. But moving on from that, let's get the shortcut because we're going to need it for this fight. Because this is, I think, the third or second longest fight I've had to endure. Because my god, is he relentless. Look at him. He just keeps flipping. And he does not relent one bit. That was one thing I had an issue with at the time. And I say at the time, but I still somewhat have an issue with it. And it is... I think Artorias is a bit too fast. Like, there's no ADP. There's no way for me to increase how fast I drink an Estus. Yet even if I drink one, the moment he begins like an attack and I avoid it, he seems to be capable of hitting me with another attack depending on which attack it is specifically. And it was kind of infuriating that no matter when I timed it, there was the high possibility I would still get hit despite healing. I had to run away and bait an attack and then keep running to ensure I had enough distance in order to heal. But going on into the winning run, I get terrified because he buffs up and I have no way to stop it. So I'm just kind of trying to avoid him to let time run out. Because if you don't know, time will run out on his buff. And it's basically a game of waiting until that happens. One of the unfortunate things is he will tend to buff again near immediately after he comes out of it. Like, he will oftentimes buff again the moment he comes out of the other buff. And it gets very concerning because he can go into a string of moves like that where he's just constantly much stronger than he should be. Granted, I can't survive more than 2 hits, but, you know. With Artie dead, I do a victorious Fire Tempest because I'm so happy because it took so long. And then we head out onto the freaking rock-covered streets with all these things. I don't know what to call them. Don't know what to insult them with, honestly. Now that we're in the city, I must say, this DLC has some great bosses, but the actual design is kind of meh. Like, I love the idea of a city sinking into the abyss. I love that concept. But I feel like it's underutilized. Like, granted, it is very much what it says on the tin. It is sinking into the abyss. But you could do so much more. These houses are very barren. It's basically just stone and stairways. The one exception, I'd say, is this one, which is very well decorated, and that's only because it has a mimic in it with a key you need. But anyway, getting deeper into the city. Well, I say the city, this is more like the Abyss itself at this point. This is the dungeons. And I do like this aspect, having the dungeons lead into the Abyss, like they're at the lowest point of said city. Now, granted I didn't get the cutscene, but I still want to go save Sif, baby Sif. And I was tempted during this long trek, because my god was it long. Manus, I think, took the longest of any boss, because he was relentless. Other bosses, I could change my build around, I could move around a few things, I could find new strategies. For him, I learnt this man. I put in so much work against him, I got to understand him so much. That one attack, I'm lucky it didn't kill me. Most attacks one-shot me if I was unlucky enough. Granted, that also had to do with counter damage, but still, I could very easily be one-shot. This move right there, one-shot. Even if I felt like I was out of range of it, probably still got one-shot, because I was not out of range. But I learnt him over the course of a week, maybe 2 weeks. I can't remember. It was a long-ass time. It was so long, in fact, I was also able to work out how to do goddamn death montages. As you can see here, I suffered so many deaths of this thing. This isn't half. This probably isn't even a quarter of them. This is just the ones I had on hand at the moment in the recording I had, because I've tried to do like big recordings and then I'll cut them down rather than doing clips, because I feel like that's a bit better. It gives a bit more for me to work with in case I want to leave more in, because I don't just want to be jumping from place to place to place. Kind of want to leave a little bit in of each one so you know my path, plus me explaining the path. But yeah, he wrecked me. I was stuck on the first 2 bars of health for so long until I changed to this getup. This is something that was suggested to me. I went on Facebook, because of course I did, went on a few Dark Souls things and asked for suggestions on how to better face Manus. Someone suggested the Grass Crest Ring, which is basically the flip ring, and also to use the Crown of Dusk in order to increase my pyromancers. However, I still wanted to be able to quick roll, so I needed to take a lot of things off. I also had to break my Fat Ring for the first time. Very horrible. Did not know you couldn't repair it at all. It just breaks. It's just gone. You can't do anything with it from what I found. So I was just stuck without that for the rest of the run, which was awful. A hit to my health and stamina and my equip load. Yeah, but once I was able to like flip around a lot more and had a lot more movement, I was able to get better at learning him and knowing what he was going to do, knowing how to avoid what he was going to do. And I feel a lot more confident with Manus. It turned into a game of trying to ensure you don't get hit at all, because even the slightest hit, if it's the combo, you're dead. If you get hit by the combo, you're dead no matter what. You can't escape it. Even if it's only a tiny bit of damage, you will get hit for like 3 to 4 more times in that combo, even if you're at the maximum range to be away from it, but still within range. There are still 3 attacks, I believe, that will hit you no matter what. There's no avoiding it, no getting away. You will get hit. Once he switches over to the freaking Dark Pyromancers, I'm not sure what they're called, Dark Sorcerers, I believe. Then I feel a bit more confident, because I have the Silver Pendant in order to block them, which is such a necessity for this fight. I haven't really used it in this fight before now, mostly because I wasn't sure how reliable it was. I thought the time window was much shorter than it was, and that you would have to cast multiple times in order to avoid certain attacks. But no, it's very generous. Anyway, I saved my Pyromancers, which I switched to Great Combustion in order to stay up close and kill him. I switched over to that, and I stopped using them at the start of the fight, because I realised Manus is a difficult fight. It's a long fight if you're just using melee. So if I start the fight off with melee, I can switch over to Pyromancers and then finish it much faster once he switches over to his Dark Sorcerer stage. Because once he switches over to that, he is probably a bit above half health or a bit below. Either way, I can burn him down once he's at that amount of health, and I don't have to deal with his Dark Pyromancers as much as I do his normal attacks. But, as you probably already know, there's one more boss left in the DLC. And Calamy, was confusing. I say confusing because I did have to learn him like I did Manus. And of course I had to appreciate this amazing cutscene first, because it is one of the best in the series. Even at 2x speed, which this is currently going at. Oh god, it looks brutal. I kind of feel bad for him. Yes, but Calamite was weird because he didn't necessarily take as long as Manus or Artorias, I don't believe. It was a matter of just learning his moves. His moves were pretty easy to learn. Granted, I say easy to learn, it feels like he got carried away on a few of them, and a few of them hit where I don't believe they should have. Either way, he was pretty easy to beat, but the problem was I just got discouraged from fighting him a lot of the time, so I would go like a day or two, or maybe longer, without fighting him, and even when I did fight him, I would only do a couple runs before like being unable to do more, because I would just get worse. So he was very discouraging to fight. Either way, he didn't take too long. If you added up all the time it took me to just fight him generally, it didn't take too long, but it did take several days because I wasn't fighting him as much as I was the other bosses. Speaking of other bosses, we have one left to round up before we go take care of Big Daddy himself, and that is Gwendolyn. That is your name. Okay, I shall try to remember it this time, Gwendolyn, I promise. I also not sure what you're going for. You're either going for a femboy look or a feminine look. I do know you were treated more feminine as growing up, which is kind of a basis for this whole get-up. But I'm not judging. Dress however you want. Granted, if you turn your sister into a big fictional version of herself and you keep the giant chest, I'm gonna judge you a little bit. Granted, it may be accurate, but you've probably got to size them down a little bit. Either way, moving on. Now we have one boss left to fight, and my word, were you also confusing, you goddamn awful bastard. Okay, so let's go through Gwyn. Gwyn was a time, because he is not, I faced like 7, no not 7, there's closer to 5 to 6 bosses harder than him in this whole run. However, he still took longer than he should have, especially for the damage I was doing. But that was somewhat my fault, because I was misjudging my parries. Granted, I did this one well, but most of the time, I got hit by that attack. Like that one, I was so bad at my parries during this fight. I was so set on learning his parries, learning his moves, and being able to kill him with parries. Because I hear he's just bait for parrying. And I know he's bait for parrying because I've seen the old Gwyn run by... Oh, I apologise, I don't know the name of the YouTuber, but it's the old Gwyn run. It's amazing. There's 2 videos. There's the Asylum and the rest of the game. They're both amazing watchers. I would highly recommend them. They're great. Anyway, I know he can be easily parried because the dude who made the video made a system for it. You hit him with a parry, you hit him, take a swig of your Estus, and then you parry again, because he always typically follows up with a slow swing. But I wasn't able to do that, so I had to switch to avoiding him and using Great Combustion, which worked out really well. It was... it did kind of piss me off, because I woke up, tried him once, died, and thought, I'll just try him again. I have stuff to do today. I won't be able to play that much, so I'll just get out of the way. I'll try once, and then I'll go do other stuff, because I know I won't beat him. I beat him the second try that morning. I was so mad. I spent so long trying to kill this idiot. For me to just do it randomly at the start of a morning when I wasn't even trying that hard. I was just kind of in the zone, and it was impressive and infuriating that he was both easy and hard at the same time. To think he would drag this out for days and then go down on the second run of that morning. My god. Oh, he pisses me off. Either way, that's all of Dark Souls 1 done. So, to answer the question, can noob challenge runs be Dark Souls 1 and Soul Lvl 1? Yes, you can. Would I recommend it? Kind of. It's weird. some bosses definitely took longer than others. The second half of the game hits you like a truck, whereas the first half hits you like a freaking wooden, maybe not even wooden, maybe blow up mallet. It's not that hard. Second half, awful. Would I do this again? Not on Dark Souls 1 I won't. Hell no. I will do the others in the series because I do think there's a lot of enjoyment to get from it. Not just watching perspective, because I love watching challenge runs. I probably won't watch my own, but I love it. But also, it helps you learn the bosses a lot. It helps you understand them a lot more. Either way, I'll end things there for now. As you can see, Soul Level 1. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, like, share, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. I'll see you all later, and I will put out a full video with both parts put together as like a full thing. But until then, I'll see you all later, and goodbye. Hope you all enjoyed.